Yes, we are in the fog. The question is, are we in a crisis? That was raised before. Of course, we're in a crisis. And what's new? If you look at the evolution of humankind, men and women on this planet, that's what we have experienced in the past. A bit of stability, and then for some internal or external reasons, right, somebody's going to challenge or something is going to challenge the system, and we have a crisis. Then if the proper leadership is around, then we can transform the crisis into an opportunity. We can, in other words, reinvent ourselves. And that has been a way to evolve and to move forward. Now, if the proper leadership is not around, then what we're facing is not reinvention, but it's regression. This is an oversimplification, but if you look at Europe in the Middle Age, it's 5 centuries of regression because the proper leadership, in a way, was not around. Now, I have some bad news for you. And the bad news, well, for us, for everybody, the bad news is that if the proper leadership is not around this time, well, what we're facing is not regression, but it's annihilation. I'm sorry, but humankind will disappear. We are really in a bad one this time, and also a fantastic opportunity to move forward and to transform ourselves. A couple of months ago, I was working with the CEO of a big multinational, and we're all together with the senior executive of the company, and he got one question, the CEO got one question: Mr. CEO, when are we going to see the light at the end of the tunnel? And the CEO said, well, before seeing the light, maybe we should focus on the tunnel and understand a bit better what the tunnel is all about. And that's exactly where we are right now. That's the kind of situation we're in. And we are experiencing, for sure, some kind of ambiguity, or some kind of confusion, some kind of denial. Many people are saying, it's not serious, it's not that bad. We'll survive this and so on. Well, there are many changes around. Let's face it. New changes, unexpected changes, misunderstood changes, and it's happening very fast. And that's why I think we are in the fog. So what I would like to do is basically to look at the kind of uncertainty that we're exploring. Then I'll move next to an experiment, a scientific experiment, which could give us some clues about where we are and what we should pay attention to, and maybe the kind of mindset that we should develop to indeed move forward. Next is, well, I have to share with you, I think I should share with you a piece of research, a good, powerful, simple, and yet very effective piece of research on uncertainty, ambiguity, or on the fog. And finally, I will come up with some conclusion at the end of this presentation, and some challenging conclusion, as you will see in a few minutes. So here we go with the first element, and this is a scientific experiment. As I said before, it's called the bee-fly experiment. Just look at the picture in front of you, and you have in the bottle on the left, a bottle, a bee, and you can see through the bottle, and then on the right side you have bottle B and you have a fly, and both bottles are open, and at the bottom of each bottle you have a light, and the light is on. This is a serious experiment. Huh? The light is on. So they're both, the bee and the fly, are trying to get out. And my question to you, everybody around, everybody who's watching, just think about it. They're both trying to get out of the bottle. The question is, which one out of the bee or the fly is going to get out first? Well, if your answer is the bee, you got it wrong. I'm sorry. The answer is absolutely foolproof. The bee, there's a good chance that the bee is going to die in the bottle, and the fly will be able to get out. Now let's see what we can learn from this little experiment from a leadership perspective. What do we learn from this? What is the problem with the bee? The problem with the bee is the following. The bee has learned that in a situation like that, it has to go to the light to survive. The bee is wrong, because what worked in the past is not working in this new situation that it is in right now. So the bee will die because the bee has not, listen please, has not learned to unlearn. What worked in the past, what can explain maybe the success that we had in the past, is not necessarily good anymore. Therefore, leaders must question their assumptions. They must question their usual ways of doing things and getting things done, because it's a new world in the making right now. Next, the fly. The fly is not so sophisticated. The fly, there's a good chance the fly is going to go left and right and finally will get out of the bottle. And that's the learning too, that in the fog, what we have to do sometimes is not to try to be too sophisticated, is not to try to really understand everything. No, it's just to get out. I remember a short story, if you don't mind. Picasso, the painter, is on the beach in the southern part of France. And a poet, a French poet, very well-known French poet, Prévert, is sitting next to him on the beach. Suddenly, Picasso, the painter, pointed at the sea and then at the waves, and he asked Prévert, the French poet, "Do you understand it?" And Prévert looked at the sea and the waves and said, "No, I don't understand." And then Picasso said, "Same here, I don't understand." And that's the question that we are raising right now. Do we understand the world? 3 learnings for leaders today. Please, there are times the B way is not right. To go on analyzing forever is not maybe the right way to survive in the fog. The flyway could be good. Trials and errors, cautious, yes, but trials and errors, and maybe also a bit of intuition. And the third learning basically is the following. It's not either or. There are times we should be the bee, there are times we should be the fly. It's up to us, leaders, to adjust our behavior to the requirements of the situation you're in. We have time, there are times we have to be analytical, there are times we should go and move on. Next, please. That's the first thing I wanted to share with you. Now, here is a little piece of research on uncertainty, on ambiguity. Actually, it's a little piece of research on the fog. On the fog. What do we know? What is uncertainty? Well, ambiguity is basically about, well, it's about being lost. It's being in the fog. It's about not understanding what it's all about. It's not really facing a situation in which you have contradiction and paradoxes. Next, please. So here we are as leaders facing ambiguity, uncertainty, being lost, experiencing confusion, and first learning from the research, ambiguity, uncertainty, as we're experiencing it right now, is a source of tension. Yes, there is tension, obviously, in the world today. There is tension in most organizations, in most teams, even in couples and families. Obviously, tension. Is it bad? Well, not necessarily. What we learned from the research that a bit of tension is not bad. Of course, if the tension is too big and if it's destructive, then the role of the leader is to take the tension away. And to take the tension away is by reducing the ambiguity, the uncertainty. Let me say it again. By clarifying the situation, by clarifying the objectives, by clarifying the strategies and so on and so forth, the leader takes the ambiguity away, and therefore he or she does reduce the tension. The research is also clear about something else, that sometimes a system, a society, an organization, a team is not experiencing enough tension. It's too flat. There is no energy around in the team and the organization, the society. Then the role of the leader is not to reduce the ambiguity, is not to take the ambiguity around, is on the contrary, to inject some kind of tension in the system that is too flat, so that the system can do something really good and effective. Next, the research is also showing that not only there is tension connected with ambiguity, but there is also something else called frustration. Yes, no question about it. No question about it. Ambiguity, uncertainty, the fog that we're in today is also a source of tension and frustration. Now, hold it. Hold it. It's not that simple, and it's not that, that clear. Actually, some people, yes, hate the ambiguity. They cannot stand it. If you are the B type, the B in the bottom, if you're the B type, you don't like the ambiguity. Your first move in a given situation is to clarify. But if you are more the fly type, then you use the flyway. The flyway is to enjoy the uncertainty, to enjoy the ambiguity, even to enjoy the fog, because then it gives you an opportunity maybe to do something new. Next is, now we reach, I think, a very interesting part. The research is also clear about not just the tension and frustration, but also about the kind of behavior that people do use when they are in the fog. And I think leaders, it's important for leaders to know what kind of reactions human beings, men and women, working in teams and organizations still today, right? What kind of reaction they have. The first reaction is basically the following. The first reaction that you can record is withdrawing. Yes, some people will withdraw when they face ambiguity and uncertainty. Actually, it's a kind of, as the Anglo-Saxon call it, a kind of wait and see position. This is very interesting. Is withdrawing bad? Not at all. Actually, in the situation we're in today, sometimes it's not that bad to get out of this situation, is to step back a little bit and then to ask yourself, what's going on here? And I guess that's what we have been experiencing with COVID-19 and the virus. The problem is that we cannot stay in the wait and see position for too long, including in business, by the way. So we can withdraw for a while, not for too long, please, and then come back with hopefully a better understanding of what's happening and what's going on in a given situation. That's the first behavior that we know we can point out from the research and from observation. Next is another behavior is, yes, take initiatives. This is more the flyway. The flyway is, all right, we are in the fog, let me try something. The door is open, let me go ahead and try something. Which can be, in a way, a source of discoveries, a source of invention. And that can be extremely good for individual lives, but also for a team, for an organization, for a society. Just go for it. Now, be careful, because taking initiatives can go too far. And then you take a big risk. By rushing the vaccine for COVID-19, we have no choice. We had to come back. Wait and see, it's okay, but we have to come back. Now we're back. Wait, are we taking a risk? Well, maybe some, and maybe some very well controlled risk, hopefully. Thirdly, next please. The next one is, yes, the B way. What is the B way? The B way is to activate the IQ skills, or the IQ, to get a better understanding, not just of what's going on and what's happening, but a better understanding of what we can do, what we should do, how to turn this into an opportunity. So in other words, what's quite good, if you combine those three behaviors, that's okay. There is also a drawback, by the way, with the B way analyzing. It's called analysis paralysis, and we have to be careful with that. So research is clear, and leaders who are leading in the fog, as many leaders are today, should keep in mind that people around, including themselves, can indeed experience those three kinds of behaviors. The next point that I would like to make is that we also know that the ambiguity throughout history and the evolution of our societies on this planet Earth has been a source of creativity. Keep in mind, please, that what is creativity? Well, creativity is basically three things. Creativity is imagination. You come up with some new ideas. Invention, you transform the idea into something practical. And finally, innovation, you're able to sell your idea to a system, be an organization or a society. And that's what we can experience if we are smart enough to turn the ambiguity into something good for us. You can see also on your screen, hopefully, that there's a word synectics, which is quite interesting because the research has shown that geniuses, by and large, when they got an answer to the problem they were working on, it's not just when they were in the lab working the problem that they got the kind of epiphany. No, it's when they were doing something else. Poincaré getting on the bus and saying, yes, that's it, I got the solution to my problem. So that's what we have to keep in mind, that synectics is not bad, because synectics is the leader creating ambiguity on purpose to basically trigger some fresh, new ways to look at a given situation. Many examples, I have many examples about that and how to use it, but it's not quite the time or the place to do it. Let me reach now a tentative conclusion, if you don't mind. And here we are. Actually, the major challenge and the major opportunity that we are all facing right now could be described as the creation of the partnership between the organic intelligence, yours and mine, the flyway, and machine intelligence or artificial intelligence. So we're back to the fly and the bee, actually. So here we are. It's the issue, the challenge is not to control artificial intelligence. We are beyond that. We cannot control it anymore. We have created something that is beyond, which goes and can do beyond our own capacities right now. If you have a chance to read an editorial today in the New York Times on artificial intelligence, it's fantastic. This is it. It's an extremely good one-page article showing how the world is changing in the fog, how the machine intelligence is stepping in and helping us. It's not one against the other. It's basically being partners together to find out the solutions to, well, to many problems that we are facing and that we will face tomorrow. As a conclusion, in the UK, a couple of weeks ago, an article was published in The Guardian. And that article had the following title: Why Human Beings Should Not Be Afraid of Artificial Intelligence. You know what? That article was written by an algorithm that designed the article, wrote the article with no human being involved in it. Let me remind you what the title was. The title was, Why You, Human Beings, Men and Women, Should Not Be Afraid of Artificial Intelligence. That's the major challenge. What kind of partnership, and I'm at the end now, what kind of partnership are we going to create between the organic intelligence and the machine intelligence so that we can indeed not just survive, but move forward with our existence on this planet Earth? Thank you very much.